I'd like to welcome Dawn Callan as our next guest. And Dawn, I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, this is such a thrill. A little bit about Dawn, but I'm going to have her tell you even more about her story, what happened, the transition that she had, which was amazing, and also, more importantly, how it affected and changed her life. It's very dramatic, and I think it will be of particular interest to many of our viewers. So her background has been very extensive, many years in development, physical development, as a top black belt, and she's going to tell you all of the names because I'm sure I'm going to butcher them. But her body of work is finding or awakening the warrior within. How profound is that? Because each of us has that warrior within us. And Dawn, and her many years of training, the many books that she has written, her body of work is so impactful. In fact, I attended one of her workshops and it changed me. It made me more confident and stronger. So without talking too much, I would like Dawn to first tell us about what event happened or events happened that led to where you are today, and I call it perhaps facing that dark night of the soul. Mm-hmm. So Dawn, would you share with us, please?
I'm happy to. I'm a career martial artist. I've been training for over 40 years, about 45 years. In conjunction with that, I am a metaphysician, studied my metaphysics right along with my martial arts. It's called Awakening the Warrior Within, and it's a series of workshops beginning with self-defense, single opponent, empty hand. This was my life, this body of work, developing the workshops, the series of workshops, developing the books, growing this idea that you can find your own freedom within you. One of the things about the work is when people do it, they come through it and they're changed.
Yes, I know.
And it isn't a 3-day head workshop where it's very exciting at first and you forget everything in 2 weeks. You never forget.
Yes.
I've had students 10 years from taking the workshop and not training at all, being attacked, and they took care of themselves, no problem. I got caught in that 2009 mess with the banks.
Yes. Mm.
And I tried to get my business, my work going here, and I couldn't. I never got it off the ground.
Why is that, do you think?
Because it was done in my hands, and I'm very stubborn.
What do you mean by done in your hands?
I needed to turn it over. It was finished.
For you physically to be doing it?
No, I was still on the mat. I'm 73 years old and still teaching. Okay. But I needed to turn it over to other people to teach.
Okay, got it.
And I was too stubborn to do it. And being stubborn also means being arrogant. And when you're arrogant and you're a spiritual seeker, you get your legs knocked out from under you.
Physically?
Emotionally, spiritually, physically, yeah. That's God's way of saying you're not paying attention. I've always never had any trouble having money. I come from a family that's wealthy. I've always been very comfortable. Didn't know any other way to live. I couldn't really empathize with other people living that way, and had some bias about how they got there, but I found myself on SSI and food stamps. My health was really starting to decline. But that was gradual, but right after I finished my last workshop, I really got hit by congestive heart failure and rheumatoid arthritis in a very short period of time. So within 2 years, everything was taken from me. I believe that I was taken to the place I was taken so that I could have compassion. And you have to be where somebody is to be able to know who they are. Yes. So I had to live it in a number of ways, in terms of feeling like I was in poverty and then feeling like I was helpless.
Talk about ego adjustment.
You bet. I realized that there were other parts of myself that were calling to me to be expressed. I'm a very good writer. I don't mean to be arrogant, but I am. I'm a very good writer.
And you've written several books, and that's proven that to be true, yes.
One of the things that I love and I do well is I'm a personal coach, and I can take people a very long way because one of the gifts that God has given me is the ability to see. I can see someone, see exactly who they are, what's going on with them, how they got where they are, and what they need to do to fix it.
What a gift.
It really is.
That's very powerful.
And I really had to learn, just because I can see, I couldn't say. You had to get permission from people to ask.
What you had shared with me that to me was so meaningful and really frankly scared me, you said that you had near-death experiences?
2 of them. And it wasn't near death. I crossed over both times. And both times were extraordinary experiences. They had identified the problem with my heart. I was in the hospital after having an episode. They had me hooked up to all kinds of stuff, watching my heart, and it stopped.
Literally, it stopped.
And nobody was paying attention, so it stopped for a little while. And I found myself in another reality, standing on a cliff, looking at this beautiful vista, all of Grandmother Earth spread out before me. It was so gorgeous. I had never had that experience before, and I love Grandmother Earth. So it was calling to me, and my toes were over the edge of the cliff, and I thought, well, this must be it. So I started to lean in, and a voice in my head said, not yet, and snapped me back into my body. So I knew I wasn't done. There was more work to do, and there is more work to do, and I found a lot of joy in the work. The second time it was different in terms of how I can explain it to you visually.
Okay.
Found myself in a place that was very beautiful and very peaceful, with a couple of beings who were very loving and very kind.
Did they know? They weren't family members?
No.
Were they angels?
Yes, they were.
Was it a tunnel with the light?
It was not exactly a tunnel. There was a light, and a very compelling light. And I knew on the other side of that light was peace, but I also knew that I had karma here to finish. So I came back. Well, it's always been my belief that that's what we have, that ultimately we again merge with God, that we go back to source, and from that source, with some assistance, we can choose what incarnation we want to take next, if we want to do that. And there are a lot of teachers there to help us with that. So it just reaffirmed what I believed, and it eliminated any fear I have of death.
When you were hit with the rheumatoid arthritis and the congenital heart disease all coming together, and it took you down.
It took me down.
I mean, you said that even walking to a couch was hard for you.
And I had no idea how far I was going to come back. But it was very clear to me that my martial arts career, in terms of it being physical, was over. There was a part of me that knew I needed to transition into something else. But I was too stubborn. I loved being on the mat, and I was too stubborn. I wasn't paying attention.
And probably a little bit of your ego going there too, saying, I can do this.
More than a little bit. So
it made you a little bit of humility, of humble, say, okay, I give. Did you surrender? I mean, was that a feeling like
I fought. No, I did not surrender. And I fought long and I fought hard. And that's because I'm a warrior.
Yes.
But if you get in a match with God, you're going to lose. What it did was it gave me the opportunity to face my shadow. A shadow has many meanings. For me, it's your own dark side, the part of you that can do harm.
The part that we can't see readily, is that why they call it shadow?
You work to see it. In your metaphysical training, you get to a certain point, and then you get introduced to shadow one way or the other. And at that point, it's your work to get clear with it. And it's difficult work, can be painful work, but it's necessary. And the idea is to get shadow in its place because you're not going to get rid of it. The simplest way I can describe it is we come in with universal hardware. The gifts that God gave us that are in our body, they are always there, they're always present, always accessible to us. They're the gifts that tell us who we are, they contain everything we need to know on our journey. For example, start at the base of your spine, root chakra, that's survival. You know that you can take care of yourself, that you're here, and you can stay here, and you know how to stay here, and you are aware of your physical environment entirely. You know where you are, and you know what's going on, until the software gets plugged in. Right, so the software for that particular gift or chakra is you can't take care of yourself, you're helpless, you don't know anything, and all that fear begins to develop. And that's where your shadow develops.
And that's where our personalities then start forming?
Yes, from the interaction of those two aspects of yourself. Well, what happened was I understood shadow and my fight with it. And I also understood the only way that I was going to be happy in this lifetime was to give up, to quit, to surrender. And I did completely, and I wasn't in a very good place financially. I wasn't in a very good place physically.
Or emotionally?
I was a mess. And it was my faith and my understanding that if I surrendered to God, everything would be taken care of. And it was.
Dawn, thank you so much for that explanation of so much about parts of ourselves that seemingly seem to fight, both the ego and the shadow. And now I would like to segue into your life, I would say in the last year or 6 months.
Can I just briefly say why I surrendered?
Absolutely.
Okay, I had given up everything that I thought I knew, everything that I thought I was, and there was no fight left in me. So I knew it to be the experience that I needed if I was going to continue in this life in a useful way. So at that point, one of my students from China called me up and said, I want to come and talk to you. I want to teach your work. We negotiated. I told him what I required to have someone else
take your body of work, yes.
And we were on course with the whole thing. And he's doing extremely well. I'm so happy to see that.
I know you have a website. I know you have a book that is available on Amazon. This is your chance to plug that.
The website is awakeningthewarriorwithin.net. It's a beautiful website that I have not attended to for a couple of years.
It's all right.
It still stands on its own as a piece of art, and
Sure.
it contains all the information, the content of the work, so you get a sense of it.
Great. And the book?
Awakening the Warrior Within.
On Amazon?
On Amazon, and also...
well, if they bring up your name, Dawn Callan,
they'll get all 3 books.
they will be able to get all 3.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn, my dear friend, my guide, wonderful woman that you are, thank you for being on the program, but more importantly, thank you for being in my life, and thank you for sharing.
And that's a great privilege.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing how you found courage, and I don't think it was that hidden, but you certainly dug it out, and you've demonstrated it through everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you for that acknowledgement.